The reality for the state of Connecticut, for the United States, is that affordable housing should be in both urban, rural, as well as suburban. The need for affordable housing is everywhere. It affects everyone. And so when you look at how can we improve the quality of life, change socioeconomic factors for our families, especially our working families, this approach in terms of affordable housing, it needs to be diverse. It needs to be in the Hartfords, the Bloomfields, the Boltons, the Suffields, the Essexes, Westbrook. It should be throughout the whole entire state. And that's how you truly bring change. That's how you truly create those opportunities. Sometimes some folks say, it's limited. It's only certain families that need it. And my reality is that even working with Habitat, the need is great. And it's everyone, every color, every walk, every faith. Everyone wants, needs, desires to have a simple, affordable home to live in.
We're so grateful to have Habitat. Before applying for the program, we lived in low income, which is like subsidized housing. We was in a 12-unit apartment building on the north end of Hartford, which was, as you know, a nightmare. Having our headboards up to their windows to block the shootings, repeated sirens. We have a 6-year-old daughter now, but at the time, a young toddler, unable to go outside and play, couldn't really enjoy herself. So applying for Habitat was like a great experience for us to be a homeowner. Now we have our own yard, to own our own home, like pretty much a whole different experience.
So Connecticut has some of the most expensive housing in the country. It has some of the most cost-burdened residents in the country. Typically talk about it paying more than 30% of their income for housing. In Connecticut, 50% of renters, half of renters do that. And that's some 200,000+ households that are paying an unsustainable amount of money for their rent, which means they're not able to support their families in an adequate way with the remainder of the money.
So my name is Melissa Kaplan-Macy. I'm Vice President for State Programs and Connecticut Director with the Regional Plan Association. We're a tri-state nonprofit research planning and advocacy organization, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut metropolitan region, and we've been doing work in this space for almost 100 years. In terms of affordable housing and where it's available in Connecticut, we have a lot of affordable housing. In our cities, we don't have as much in our suburbs, and the need is across both of those types of jurisdictions. We need affordable housing everywhere. We need people to be able to afford their homes. And so I think it's really important for us to recognize, as we're working to create more affordable housing in more places in the state, that the unevenness of where affordable housing exists today, and that's not, it's not by accident.
So some of the challenges to expanding the amount of affordable housing in communities, there's a lot of challenges, but a lot of it has to do with really local resistance and what I think is misunderstanding of what affordable housing is. So some of the opposition really begins, I think, with a lack of understanding of what's being proposed. Connecticut, local towns have, many have gotten into this place where it's not just affordable housing that folks oppose, it's really any growth at all.
If someone was to ask, is it always a golden path towards where we want to build and opportunities to build? And I would say most cases it is. In most cases, we go into communities and it's the welcome mat is rolled out and it's a smooth process. In some cases, we do have to deal with segregation and stereotypes and the thought that, affordable housing is, for poor people, and or is going to bring in crime, it's going to bring in, or it's going to reduce the quality of life, or it's going to reduce the market value for a neighborhood.
They're not used to seeing new construction and how it can fit well into a community and how it actually can be an improvement over the existing housing. There seems to be almost a knee-jerk reaction against any growth and change, but of course there's always change because we all age and our housing all ages.
And so we're constantly having to educate and explain that our homeowners are just like every other homeowner. They want to purchase, they want to own, they want to take care of it, they want to make sure that it's pretty on the outside and beautiful on the inside.
It was intentional federal, state, local policies put in place that prohibited people of color from accumulating wealth from buying homes in suburban communities. And so, in the communities that we have in our state today, this very, clear racial segregation and the inability for a lot of people over generations to access homes in the suburbs to accumulate wealth over generations, people have been locked out of that. So the need to create more affordability in the suburbs is not so much a lot of the conversation you hear is, I'm happy to have anybody live in my town as long as they can afford it, and that sort of assumes that this is, that there's equity when we know that there is not.
Many people don't realize that the person living next door to you would qualify for affordable housing. The person who serves you dinner qualifies for affordable housing. The person who treats your children, the nurse at your pediatrician's office, qualifies for affordable housing. Your recent college grad, your own child, would qualify for affordable housing. We have to educate oftentimes in the communities that we want to serve. We try to work in communities that we're invited in. Oftentimes we're approached by community leaders to consider doing an affordable housing development. They see the need. They see this corporation that's just moved into their town, but they can't attract the workforce housing folks because that town doesn't have any housing. People can't afford to commute 45 minutes, an hour every day to this industry that this town worked really hard to attract. Living in Connecticut is very expensive. So we come along and we agree to do some affordable housing, whether it's home ownership or rental. And that rental deal will almost always be mixed income. We no longer put people in silos. People live next to each other, they will thrive. An artist living next to a CEO who's choosing to live in an apartment, which happens a lot, they get a lot from each other. They learn a lot from each other. They benefit from each other.
I think that it is no secret that there is a shortage of housing within our nation's borders. And that also holds true for the state of Connecticut. So the department is working hard to create and preserve homes that are affordable for all our families. For me, it's having options that if you as a young adult want to live in the city, you have that option and you can afford it. We have to consider that the importance of balancing investing in our cities as well as investing in our towns.
So I'm Norm Needleman, and I am the first selectman of the town of Essex. I've been serving in this capacity since 2011. I'm also the state senator in the 33rd district. We've had this ongoing thing where people who work here can't live here because it's relatively expensive. It's a community of single-family homes, mostly, as are most of these towns. So we want to provide access to housing for people to live here, work here, shop here. The affordable housing component is one component of that, obviously. Transportation and jobs are the other component. I think as much as we want to focus on affordable housing out into the more rural and suburban areas of the state, which I totally support, we also need to make sure that there's good quality housing in the communities that people grew up in and want to continue to live in. There are two ways to do affordable housing in this state. It can be community-based or it could be private developers. Communities will be more receptive to local people trying to take these things on and deal with these initiatives. So I'm a huge advocate of like an organization like Hope Partnership. They are local people. They have banded together because they recognize a need. And they formed a nonprofit, and they have been actively seeking properties, redeveloping properties, building new properties that are affordable housing.
My name is Tony Lyons. I am one of the founders of an organization called Hope Partnership, which is a nonprofit organization that's been in existence in the Connecticut shoreline area since 2004. Hope is, in the 14 years it's been around, it's produced one very successful project called Ferry Crossing. It's about to open a second project in Essex called Spencer's Corner, which will add 17 new affordable units to the local housing stock. So we really are working hard to bring affordable housing options to very expensive, very affluent shoreline communities where there's been a historic lack of affordable housing options. And we've had a lot of success and a lot of support from institutions like United Way, like Liberty Bank, and other financial institutions that are supporting our work.
We really believe here at Liberty Bank that it's really the right for all of Connecticut citizens that they should have decent and affordable housing to live in. So we are involved in various programs. One in particular is our involvement with the Federal Home Loan Bank of Boston. They have an affordable housing project, and annually we support nonprofit organizations in engaging them to provide more affordable rental housing and home ownership opportunities throughout Connecticut.
Hi, my name is Santina, and I'm a resident at Ferry Crossing in Old Saybrook. I've been here about 8 years since they originally were built. One of the benefits that I see with affordable housing is it really enables a lot of people that are already in the community, that are working here, that are in schools here. It gives them the opportunity to live in the community, and which as a result gives them a chance to give back to the community.
I think that along the way I became passionate about housing because I was one of those people that lived in a Section 8 subsidized apartment when I had 2 jobs and I was going to school at night. And as a single mom, that helped me and it made a difference in my life. And probably because of that apartment, I'm here today because I was able to go to school and I was able to keep my daughter safe. And it was a place that it was very comfortable and I could pay 30% of my income. So I do know that it makes a difference in somebody's life.
Being an advocate at the local level, that's the most effective way to make change happen in your community, no matter what it is. The folks, if there's a proposal in your town for affordable housing development, the folks that are opposed to that development will come out. If you are supportive of that development, the most effective thing you can do is let your local leaders, local officials know that.
Just taking the time to show up and say, yes, we need this, so that the folks who are making the decisions are hearing, more than one set of voices. It's not just the people who are getting up and saying, please don't put that next door to me. There's voices saying, we really need this in our town and here's why.
They need to know that people in their community support expanding low-cost housing.
Come all. We want you, we need you. Our mission is driven by the support of others. The opportunity to serve is always available.
So I think if there isn't an affordable housing or a housing group in your community, then I think form one. I think that's critical.